Hey guys, welcome to another commentary done by Diggity. Oh, I'm gonna have black screen just to make sure. Okay, yes. Whew. Okay, I was like, did I update everything? This is BSL Gosuleague Tier 2, by the way. I'm not sure how the tier divisions work, honestly, in the upgrade from the tier divisions, but 12 o'clock location we got Wizard, 3 o'clock location we got Worst. We're starting as the teal Protoss, we're starting as the blue Zerg. I am very pleased with... I was a bit concerned having Lancer X on the opposite side versus Nesh, but we got two Protoss, a Zerg, and a Terran. Good race parity, and spoiler here, Nesh in the finals from the other side of the bracket going up against one of these two. Keep in mind, Worst, if he advances, he did, I believe, in the Swiss stage end up dispatching Nesh. But I do feel like Lancer X, when I've seen him play, has played better than Worst. So we'll have to see. Worst has been playing out of his mind, though. He seemed to have the hardest challenge exiting the quarterfinals versus Favorite Bavoa. He's gonna drop a pylon along that natural. Gonna go ahead and scout bottom left. This does suggest that he's potentially thinking about going for a Forge first opener. Wants to see whether he's going up against a pool. I think at this stage is kind of relegated to do so. Overpool in the meantime here from Wizard. And we'll see what Wizard does. Actually, Wizard has played some really, really solid games. But I do feel like he might be outclassed by Worst. I'm not 100% sure about that. But my initial feeling is typically when I look at these two players, like, okay, I think Worst might have this, but Wizard coming out of the... He looked really, really strong in the quarterfinal. Worst doing a really good job blockading that natural. We do have the Forge up. I think Worst presuming that this was an overpool based on the attempted timing here. It looks like it's just going to be two Zerglings, though. 1 o'clock base getting grabbed rather than the 12 o'clock base. Drone versus probe fight. Drone taking some heavy damage. Going to be pushed back. Photon cannon is going to plop down here on the front. And I think on Dominator, if it had been a number of Zerglings, they might have been able to get the surround on the cannons, but instead it looks like they're going to, first of all, in small numbers, and second of all, going to peel back to try to chase that probe. Extractor, I think the timing works. Like, I think it's a small enough map where it off overpool does work. Other things I should test off screen before I say them. Worst getting an eyeful, getting the gas timing. I do say that I do want to say that the meta could be working against Worst right this second, because it does feel like Zerg has the upper hand in the ZVP meta right this second. And it's been challenging for Protoss to adjust to just all sorts of shenanigans that Zerg have been throwing out in the early stages here. A lot of delayed time, though, from Wizard on this additional hatchery here. Meantime, Worst going ahead and grabbing that gas. Going to build his initial Zealot. Natural expansion is, I think, Worst's natural expansion finished before Wizard's, which is very rare in PVZ, so he's got a big economic lead. On top of that, going to see the lair mutating. Zergling speed being upgraded on top of everything else. And some drones going to migrate all the way to the 1 o'clock. For Wizard's point, I'll be curious to see if he decides to go Spire here. Zerglings ignoring that probe now. Did they get the no, they're just going to leave that probe and wander their way back out. A Zealot is marching up for... This is... Oh, man. So Wizard going up to the 1 o'clock, thinking the Zealot's headed there. Instead, the Zealot headed at the natural. Probe getting some free shots off. And the probe and the Zealot right alongside. And the probe doing some great linebackering here to try to extend that Zealot's life. 3 kills, the probe gonna exit. Some decent micro right there from Worst. Another Zealot making its way across. However, now it's going to be 5. The probe gonna swing back around. not providing help now and just going to sit there and get itself wiped out. Do we have another Zealot? I think he just wanted to see if this was going to be a Hydralist timing. Looks like we do have 3-hatch Spire. Worst, I have to feel like with what happened there, he might be a little bit... So we get +1 weapons upgrading. He's presuming in the midst of this, okay, no Hydra, we're going to go straight into Muta, so let's just go ahead and get +1. But this is a big chunk of Zerglings. It's possible that he missed the timing of the Hydralisk because of the delay with the hatchery from his point of view. But so I would be a little bit squeamish if I was him in this scenario. But now that those Hydralisks are showing up on the front, I feel a little bit better. That being said, he has sunk all of his minerals into construction here as this Corsair is making its way out onto the map. So it didn't save anything to drop cannons. We are seeing a 4th hatchery at the 1 o'clock, a 5th hatchery at the natural, and a Hydralisk den along with an evolution chamber. So this is looking a little bit more typical of standard 3-hatch Spire into 5-hatch play. With maybe a Lurker contain. 2 Corsairs along the edge, the Overlords at a distance going to try to make their way back. We do have some Scourge dashing towards their location to go ahead and protect them. Second gateway, Photon Cannon to provide a little bit of support just in case there were Mutalisks into the air. And a Templar Archives. So pseudo Viso build, I think this is just straight up a Viso build from Worst actually. Also trapping a probe behind here. Minus maybe the +1 weapons. The Scourge gonna be able to see that Stargate flashing as well as that Cybernetics core spinning. Did he? Yeah, okay. Able to wander up, see that Cybernetics core. Is going to be able to get a Corsair as it lands, which pushes back the timing of when the Corsair can start getting out on the field and getting aggressive. Plenty of Hydrals covering these Overlords currently, and this is going to put Wizard in a situation where he should feel a lot more comfortable against any sort of DT that could press out onto the map. And he can just surge that drone count. Right now, though, Worst does have the better economy. There's the Dark Templar. Few photon cannons plopped on the front just in case. Zealot's going to go ahead and move position to let that Dark Templar out. And as I say that, probe getting in the way, there we go. Able to shuffle its way back across. A few additional defensive cannons here from Worst. That's interesting. And the Zergling, instead of going out towards the 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock, just picking off a few Zerglings on the front. Overlord speed's already been invested in here from Wizard. But what he's not done is he hasn't put, it looks like he's going to grab a 6 hatchery, but he hasn't filled in a lot of the drones in the midst of this. So prioritizing Overlord speed and a few additional Hydralisks. Also getting some of the Hydra upgrades, +1 weapons, and Hydral speed, and that Dark Templar manages to find a hole. And Wizard does not see it. I think that is going to be game. Finally spots it. And the Overlord had speed and everything. 12 kills on that Dark Templar. 12 kills. A big part of this game plan for Wizard was to sit back, macro up, get himself in a situation where he had massive drone saturation rapidly. Now the Hydralisk's pushing up for a counterattack, but we're going to have Psystorm and several cannons waiting. And I think there's sufficient Zealots to buy time. Corsair's taking a few shots. Looks like the Scourge managed to land on one of the Corsair. I think this is the emergency backup plan here for Wizard, which is basically try to hold the front, grab a 4th to make up the difference. And hopefully slow down a 3rd. Does have Lurker Tech upgrading. He's got +1 weapons, and +2 queued up. So he might end up with a pretty rapid +2, but right now he's down on supply. Worst has a big gateway flood in the midst of this. Should be able to push towards the 3rd base without too much trouble. I think this is plenty of Zealots to deal with these Hydralisks and Zerglings. Do they have +1? They do have +1. Doesn't need the observers just yet, but will in a moment because we got some lurkers trying to spawn on the front. But did the Zealots get the surround on the lurker eggs and force a cancel? Going for the surround now. Oops, dropping a side storm on top of them. There's the cancel. Buying some time. I'm not sure if that was worth 2 side storms. Corsairs waiting in the wings want to try to hop on some overlords should they be unprotected. Zealots sneaking to the south. Yeah, the Corsair are going to try to poke away at what they can. Well, Wizards distracted. Wizards hatchery here along the left-hand side of the map looks like it is going to come online, and Worst hasn't made motions here after that 2 lurker cancellation to grab the base. He's a little bit concerned about potential lurker pressure, being that he doesn't have that observatory out, which is understandable. Needs to get rid of a cannon on this front, I think, to get these Dragoons out. Right now they're kind of fluttering around a bit. Do they have an exit point along that edge? Looks like not. They're kind of how did this one get out? Did he just warp himself out? Probe's gonna make its way to the bottom right. Yeah, they're gonna go ahead and clear out that cannon. Is he gonna go for the gateway clear as well? Poor Dark Templars. Let's see if this Dark Templar morphs in time. He's got to be like the black sheep of the family, more so than usual. Hydras and lurkers on the near side in a position to dive bottom right. An additional evolution chamber and a queen's nest getting grabbed. No 4th gas to really make that sail just quite yet. High ground to low ground assault, not the best positioning here for Wizard. Is going to be able to get some of the lurkers down, but they're bunched up, and a second Sidestorm is going to drop 4 lurkers. Great engagement. Does need to be very careful with that observer. You can see Wizard trying to poke that off, but not going to have success in doing so. And also Dark Templar is, at the very least, is going to be able to spot top left, and I think Worst has enough of an army advantage now where he could just wreck. That might lead to a counterattack from Wizard towards the bottom right, but we already have some pylons and cannons filling in. It's kind of an odd, dicey situation. Looks like 2 drones died to the Dark Templar top left. Worst regathering on top of a pizza slice on top of everything else, making good use of map architecture. Wizard drawing back with the Hydralisks he has, and I think that drawback is going to cost him top left. Worst's problem right this second is if he dedicates this and gets trapped, it's a scary scenario. So he has to be very, very careful and gauge this. Just so. But the way this is lined up, it looks like more lurkers. Oh, beautiful side storms from Worst. Wizard not dodging at all. Counter side storms to the high ground as well on the return. Even if Worst doesn't take out this base, he's gotten some really good trades overall thus far, and is just depleting Wizard's army. Wizard getting carved up. Beautiful, beautiful engagements. Worst with a very soft touch here, clearing out these lines. A bunch more lurkers moving the way forward. Do we have any side storm left? No side storm remaining. Worst should back off. This is not the best engagement point from this location, but he's forced out a lot from Wizard, and Wizard hasn't gotten a lot. He's gotten a High Templar, maybe 2. I'm actually shocked that that base didn't get wiped out. Bottom right, however, is active, not super saturated for Worst yet, and I mean yet. Big supply lead still for Worst, so he still has some action that he could deploy out on the map. Wizard wisely morphing these lurkers on the high ground, so any encroachments at the top left will engage. But I think the problem now for Wizard is this 1 o'clock base and his natural expansion are somewhat vulnerable. Vision getting cleared out. A Zealot just checking along that left-hand side. I wonder if... I think we could see a move out and a... Yeah, I was about to say, Worst going ahead and grabbing that interior. Usually I would say don't take that mineral only, but I think with the supply lead that Worst has, if he just keeps baiting attacks out, looks like the observer is going to get picked off. 1 observer remains towards the rear of this army. Lurker's having a field day, though. Point being, if Worst keeps reinforcing to this location, which he shouldn't have much trouble doing, he's going to get some pretty good exchanges with this ball. Threaten that natural, and should be able to grab that mineral-only base on top of it. Drawing back right this second. Still has that 30 supply lead. Trying to morph was able to morph the Archon. Is he going to be able to save it? Yeah, I think he's going to be able to save it on top of everything else. Needs to be a little bit careful with the Observers, the only thing. So the Observers are gone. That does mean he will likely need to retreat. That poor Archon was so close. Still holding back on grabbing this Interior 3. Might want to go to the 6 instead. Overlord's checking top right just in case Worst opted to go that direction. Now we have that Nexus filling in. So Wizard somehow surviving to later stages. His macro might start kicking in. He's actually got more workers. And if he stops building drones, and he is at Hive Tech, if he stops building drones and just kicks on some additional hatcheries and just starts building, he might be able to surge past Worst. And then if he gets some decent positional attacks, might be able to come out with this. In the meantime, we've got a High Templar and 2 Zealots looking to create some havoc somewhere out on the map. 4 Worst. Top right looks like it's a prime target. Natural expansion could also be targeted. Kind of like the keeping Wizard on his toes play action here. Wizard staging a lot of his troops to his natural expansion wedge so he can reinforce where he needs to. Has cut the supply gap down to about 25. Worst able to get that drop and not a very fast response from Wizard, so going to lose a lot of drones right there. And the High Templar are going to be able to scoop right back up and get another Sidestorm at the 12. It looks like some Corsair were occupying Wizard. Wizard's multitask has not been the greatest here, so now he's got a base that's effectively just completely inoperable. And Zealot's going to go ahead and stop that natural expansion, and we got another Zealot that's going to cause a scatter at the main as well. With this, Worst moving out, he's moving bottom left. I think he's presuming there was another base at this location. Maybe he's just trying to move his way out onto the map outside of Overlord vision and attack at Wizard's upper left. Wizard anticipating it. However, he's bunched up a lot of troops. The Zergling, yeah, the Zergling's going to press in. Do we have another Sidestorm on the high ground? Unfortunately, we see it. Worst does not, because he doesn't have full vision, but that would have been some... would be some incredible Sidestorms if they could land. I think Wizard, by the way, has resaturated these bases, but we still have the shuttle top left with the High Templar sitting in it for later stages. Lurkers piling up, moving the top right. Now that there's less Sidestorm, they are able to burrow and at least get a few shots off. +2 weapons, +1 armor, by the way, versus +2/+2. Worst without Zealots or High Templar support, gonna try to draw back against those Zerglings. They should call them officially Cracklings at this stage, so he doesn't take unnecessary losses on the Dragoon lines. Zerglings on top of Dragoons, when they have that Adrenal upgrade, they can shred Dragoons very, very rapidly. So against a late game Lurkerling, you really want both the Zealot and Dragoon composition, and then High Templar to pick off what you can if things overbunch. High Templar swinging around, blanketing Sidestorms. Not able to catch the near side Lurker, but I thought that one was caught. Guess it's just going to be the 2 along that left-hand side. Again, the Zealots expended, so we're shifting out, but we got another Sidestorm drop here. Just missed it. Back at the main. Catching some more drones here. But Wizard's still stabilizing a bit, and Worst has not yet grabbed an additional base. His main is mined out. His natural expansion is just about mined out, so he's going to be back down to 1 base mining versus 4. So despite everything, Wizard might have effectively weathered the storm. Another shuttle making its way out, this time with 2 Reavers. So Worst maybe going to go for a reposture here. The drones spotting the encroaching explosive space worms. So going to draw out, well, some of them going to draw out. Hydral's pushing in, able to get those Reavers out. 6 o'clock base, starting construction. We do have a Zealot checking the situation out bottom left. And we got another Storm drop primed for Worst. Maybe Scourge are nearby, as are Hydralisks. It looks like that shuttle just going to return to home base and just narrowly missing those Scourge. Wonder if on the replay they're going to realize how lucky they were. Plague on the way. Hydralisks face planning, I think, just to see whether that was locatable or not. High Templar, Dark Templar, 2 Zealots now across the 9 o'clock. Gonna be pushed away. So Zealots able to get some distraction. Dark Templar making its way up. And another Psystorm catching a few drones here. Looks like the Dark Templar was handled. But another Dark Templar, never mind, the Dark Templar scooped right back up and back in the main. We got no anti-Dark Templar protection. Plus we got distractions across the mid-map line. Looks like that assault was spotted at the main. Reavers grouped up with everything else. Worst transferring workers here to the 6 o'clock, so that should be active again. And the Dark Templar uncontested again. If he can take out, there's a lot he could take out. Looks like the shuttle's gone, so this is now a suicide mission. Working on Zerglings here initially. Do we have Overlords queued up? More Zerglings queued up. I want to see that, okay, the Overlord making its way this direction. Dang, I actually kind of wanted to see that Dark Templar get some tech here before it got wiped out, but died a hero for the cause, for worst. The scourge of the Zerg. Right now, Wizard in trouble, though. Down a lot of supply. Walking his army. A lot of lurkers just straight across this attack forward. Huge Psystorm. So not, and maybe got 2 spine attacks off. For the rest of that was wiped out. 9 o'clock base attempting to construct. I don't think it's going to make it there with the amount of carnage happening on the exterior. Worst being clever with this, though, recognizing that Wizard might be panicking a little bit, trying to push in to defend it, so just leaving an army in no man's land and trying to chew up supply of Wizard across the median and getting a lot of kills effortlessly between the two, and really expending a lot of micro from Wizard. He's dropped all sorts of Dark Swarm and whatnot, and it just hasn't been able to breach. By the way, we're still sitting at +1 carapace, +1 weapon for Wizard, and we do have +3 armor on the opposite side, and +3 weapons is now complete for Worst as well. Looks like the main is expended. Natural expansion about expended here from Worst, so he does need to do something. A Zealot has snuck in. Good plague on these Dragoons and at least a Reaver. Worst is doing some good mining off 2 bases at near max supply. Another Psystorm drop at the 1 o'clock. Worst is just pummeling Wizard, and after that last Psystorm drop, Wizard has had enough, at least in game 1. So Worst takes the first match in this best of 5. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.